With the Romulan Star Empire re-emerging onto the galactic stage, Starfleet Command would have its starship design teams look towards building a battleship the likes of which no one had ever seen before. And from this, the Proxima Class would be born. But what do we know about this heavily armed tactical design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Proxima Class as first seen in the 2006 video game Star Trek Legacy to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, this is one of those starship designs that I have gotten request after request to do a video on, and finally here we are. This will be a three-part series on this, the TOS version of the class, followed by the TMP version, and then finally the 25th century version of the class. So I hope that all these videos will have been worth the wait for all of you that have requested them. But as always, because this is just a beta canon video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. After almost a century, the Romulans were back. 2266 would see the new Romulan Praetor send a prototype starship design known as a Bird of Prey into Federation space to destroy several Starfleet outposts along the neutral zone border, all in an attempt to test Federation strength. Luckily, the Starship Enterprise, under the command of Captain James T. Kirk, was able to stop this vessel from returning to Romulus, forcing the enemy starship commander to destroy his own ship rather than be captured. The re-emergence of the Romulan Empire onto the galactic stage would not be particularly concerning if it hadn't have been for one Romulan invention, and that was, of course, the cloaking device, rendering a Romulan starship almost completely impervious to sensor scans. Both the Federation Council and Starfleet's Command Council were immediately distressed. This heightened level of panic would force the Federation Council to authorize a highly classified new project for Starfleet Command known as Project Proxima. Named after the Latin word Proximus, which meant nearest, Project Proxima was dedicated to protecting the United Federation of Planets from its nearest enemy, the Romulan Star Empire. Project Proxima would be the overarching name for all the little sub-projects under its purview: intelligence gathering missions on the Star Empire, developing new technologies to thwart the Romulan cloaking device, as well as several new starship designs would be included in Project Proxima. And by 2268, one of the project's biggest achievements, the Proxima Class, would be born. Sitting at a length of 450 meters, the Proxima Class would be designed to be operated by 450 officers and crew members, with additional space for another 550 fighter pilots or military personnel. Retaining the starship aesthetic that had been developed over the past 2 decades, the Proxima Class would be one of the last designs to do so, as technological developments for this class would end up being a major contributor to the technological explosion of the 2270s. One of the prevailing ideas that Starfleet had to combat the Star Empire was to build a starship class with far more available power than was currently possible in any other starship design. And so, Starfleet's best and brightest, in concert with the Daystrom Institute, began to tinker with Starfleet's current warp core design in the hopes of increasing its power output. Partially successful at the time, the Proxima Class would have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 6 and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9.2 for 14-hour increments, all old warp scale of course. Tactically, the Proxima Class would be the most well-armed starship design ever created by the organization up to this point in Starfleet's history. Containing 24 dual-emitter phaser banks, as well as 8 torpedo launching systems, the Proxima Class was certainly not a design to be trifled with. Shielding for the Proxima class would be slightly more powerful than those of her Federation class older sister, gaining a 6% power increase over her. The Proxima class would contain a triple secondary hull configuration, with 2 larger than standard identical hulls on both the starboard and port sides of the ship, protecting a specially designed smaller hull pod on the starship's center line. The 2 identical hulls would contain not only the Proxima class's 2 deflector dishes, but also 2 separate through-style shuttle bays, equipped with the latest auxiliary spacecraft that Starfleet Command had to offer, including the new P-9 fighters. As it was felt that time was of the essence, Starfleet Command would actually construct 12 starships of the class at the same time, though the construction of the USS Proxima herself would begin approximately 6 weeks prior to the rest. This would end up being a huge problem for Starfleet Command. Testing of the Proxima class proceeded as normal, and she did well in her warp and combat evaluations, living up to the stats that had been promised by the class's designers, but history waits for no one, as other situational developments would throw a space wrench into the Proxima's design. 2268 would also see the massive failure of Dr. Richard Daystrom's M5 multitronic computer system, resulting in the death of over 420 Starfleet officers as well as Daystrom himself undergoing a complete mental collapse. And in order to keep the Daystrom Institute, Starfleet Command's #1 go-to for all new technological developments alive and afloat, the interim head of the Institute would push her development teams into overdrive, approving several projects that Daystrom had denied, all in an effort to find something to reaffirm the faith that Starfleet Command once had in this cutting-edge organization. And, almost completely by accident, the Daystrom Institute would develop what would become affectionately known as the Vertical Warp Core. This new style of warp core technology would blow every Starship warp core designed before it out of the water in both strength and efficiency. And after its successful testing, in concert with other new Starship technology and design innovations, Starfleet Command would authorize the Enterprise Refit program, which would see the Constitution class reborn for a new era. And the launch of the new USS Enterprise would make all Starship classes existing in the fleet virtually obsolete overnight. And so now, Starfleet Command had a problem. With construction projects halted and repurposed for new Starship designs based on the new technology, Starfleet Command began turning its head to the 12 shiny new Proxima Class Starship designs that, aside from a few special missions, had been kept under lock and key in the core areas of the Federation, and began to debate what to do with this now outpowered Starship class. And when we return to the second part of this 3-part video series, we'll find out exactly what they decided, much to the chagrin of Starfleet's Starship design teams. Hope to see you then. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Proxima class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel create a bunch of new technology that makes everything that came before it completely obsolete? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.